Well, they have security concerns, as does Israel, of course. They want to make sure the right people are leaving and entering their soil, which is understandable but achievable. And as we saw, many people were able to leave today. Sadly, none of the hostages, but I'm thrilled for those who were able to leave. The second issue is they don't want to make a floodgate of all sorts of people coming into Egypt and potentially remaining there. I would really love to see how all the countries can cooperate to let innocent Palestinian civilians who are not supportive of Hamas be able to find safe space so that Israel could do what it needs to do to try to uproot and destroy Hamas. But these are complicated issues for Egypt. But I think working together with the United States and Israel and hopefully others, we will find a way to try to get Palestinians safe and away from the war zone. That is, of course, as long as Hamas doesn't keep them in the fighting areas, which is what Hamas is trying its best to do, which is put civilians in harm's way.
Jason, what do we know about the actual security situation there at the crossing? How do we know that the people who need to be getting through are getting through, and that situation doesn't turn into something more dangerous?
You can never tell with these things. I think Egypt has probably posted, as others have done, the right kind of people that are watching everything, both what they're doing, who they are, making sure that they are foreign nationals who should be going home. But these are really tough questions to answer, and you're in the midst of a war. So
Mm.
I don't know if everybody could really properly vet this. I hope that because they had plenty of time to do it, as you said, this is the first time that people are actually being let out. I hope that they were vet properly, and now they get to go back to their families and are away from danger.
Why can refugee camps not be set up in the Sinai area of Egypt?
Egypt has been very vocal about this. They believe that, first of all, they have their own security challenges. They don't want to add potentially allowing Hamas or other fighters, other terrorists into their soil. That's number one. Number two, and I don't agree with this, but from the Egyptian perspective, from the Palestinian perspective, I at least hear what they're saying. They believe that this is, another time that Palestinians are being expelled. They think that Israel is going to take over Gaza and that the Palestinians will remain in the Sinai or in Egypt or have to go elsewhere. I don't think that's true. I think the last thing that Israel wants is to take over Gaza. They left it so many years ago. They left them with so many amazing things that could have been turned into something unique and special. So I think that's a misreading of the cards. But from a Palestinian, from an Arab perspective, I'm not saying this comes from nowhere. I just wish that everybody could sort of sit down and recognize that Israel has no desire whatsoever to take over Gaza. And I'm not sure if the parties are sort
Yeah.
of talking past each other.
Jason, what do we know now about the whereabouts of those remaining 230 hostages, if indeed 230 are still alive?
Very little. Hamas is playing with everybody. They're letting them trickle out here and there. They're using them for their own nefarious purposes. Most likely they're split up. Most likely they're in the tunnels. They may not all be held by Hamas. We don't know the state of health. Hamas is not allowing any kind of contact with them, not the Red Cross, not others. And it's shameful. I mean, it's a failure on the world community.
Mm.
These are people who are, ranging from babies to people over the years, age of 75.
Joe Biden has expressed some hope, hasn't he, that some of those hostages could be freed. What kind of back channel discussions are taking place with Hamas leadership?
So my understanding is the Biden administration is working tirelessly to get it done. They're working, of course, with Qatar, who's been instrumental in trying to get it done. I'm sure Israel is involved, but you're negotiating with terrorists. They're liars. They'll do what they need to do for their own needs. There's no humanitarian need for them. They could care less about any of these hostages. They care less about Palestinians too. So very little is known, and we're only going to be able to get hostages if it suits Hamas's purposes.
How likely is this war to expand to Lebanon and Hezbollah? Hezbollah, of course, the Shiite Muslim political party and militant group based in Lebanon, which is driven by its opposition to Israel and general resistance of Western influence in the Middle East. So, how likely is this to expand, Jason?
Well, not enough people talk about the fact that it's the Iranian regime that is really pulling all the strings here, whether they ordered this attack or not. There's a lot of debate on
Yes.
that. But Hezbollah, Houthis who joined the war, I mean, yesterday Yemen declared war, they're all trigger happy and they're just waiting for the right moment. It's very hard to know what's going to happen. I think what the Biden administration did by sending the aircraft carriers in, by warning, don't let this expand. They've certainly tamped down the possibility, but I would say there's a reasonable chance that Hezbollah is going to get involved. How high they get involved is also a question, but it will be a disaster for the region if Hezbollah gets involved, and it'll be a disaster for the Iranian regime, let alone Lebanon. Lebanon has suffered so much in the recent past. Hezbollah cares nothing about Lebanese.